Ah, that time of year. As much as everyone looks forward to Thanksgiving, let's be honest, a lot of people, including myself, as well as Hollywood, are like, "Nah, man, it's Christmas. We're already we're already done with Halloween. Let's just move on to Christmas, all right?" And why not celebrate this time of year? These great feelings of joy and happiness in preparation for said Christmas with the boy Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He'll deliver you special film that'll be also great for those holiday seasons. Then again, if it turns out wrong, then that's just not a good feeling for Christmas whatsoever. So
Interesting. My turn!
Oh my god.
Is my face still there? Yeah, you look good.
Red One is directed by Jake Kasdan with a screenplay by Chris Morgan and a story by Hiram Garcia. The film stars Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Chris Evans, Lucy Liu, and J.K. Simmons. According to IMDb's plot synopsis, after Santa Claus is kidnapped, the North Pole's head of security must team up with a notorious hacker in a globe-trotting, action-packed mission to save Christmas. For 20 years, Dwayne Johnson, otherwise known as The Rock, as he hails from the WWE with his family legacy, has been entertaining audiences with his movies for decades at this point. Love him or hate him, this former WWE wrestler turned movie star has been successful for a very long time. Usually that's never the case with a lot of WWE superstars. I mean, nowadays we have not just The Rock, but you also have the likes of John Cena and Dave Bautista are now starting to do bigger things. You could kind of say you could kind of give credit to The Rock in some way for paving that way. And I say kinda, alright, because I know that there's something that I will get to in a bit. But I cannot deny the amount of success and fortune that this man has found himself with regards to his position in regards to Hollywood, alright? I have enjoyed The Rock for a while. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I have always been there for The Rock. I have always supported him. Yes, I know it's going to seem like I am a fool for supporting a guy who a lot of people could say is not really a actor of some kind, but I still supported his work. I really did. There are some movies of The Rock that I do find myself enjoying. But ever since Black Adam, I have been starting to notice some problems with him, mostly some behind the scenes issues, because ever since that film and its behind the scenes troubles and what The Rock was trying to do with that franchise with DC at the time, it started to kind of show me how much The Rock's ego can sometimes not be the best, if you ask me, because I'm now starting to hear reports of how he's like on set, or at the very least with this most recent motion picture of a Christmas film, the fact that he made people wait 8 hours on set because he has a 4-hour workout routine and pissing him bottles, and yes, I'm not joking, that is an actual thing that he has admitted to. Yeah, that's kind of telling. But now with this all-new Christmas action comedy, maybe he can prove the naysayers that he can deliver on something good. He has always been a box office draw, so let's see. Maybe he could still charm his way out of this. Unfortunately, not only is this one of the worst films of the year, but I'm now starting to get a little bit old with the Rock shtick at this point. I'm starting to feel it. I'm starting to now understand what people have a problem with him are like, and is becoming more and more apparent now than it is ever. Throughout, this film is put together by a committee that needed to put something on Prime, but thought that this belonged in the theaters. And if you ask me, it doesn't. I don't understand how this movie got into movie theaters whatsoever. There is nothing about this film that screams box office, alright? As much as The Rock could say it is, let's face it, the way this movie is put together and how it looks, nothing about this feels like a movie theater experience. It feels more like a streaming experience that you would get at home. Before tearing this movie down, here is only one positive. And yes, people, there is only one positive that I had with this movie and this movie only. I think the concept for this film is interesting. If the premise, and I say this, if the premise was cleaned up and was tweaked along the way, it would have been at least decent to watch. It wouldn't have done anything new or revolutionary or something big and monumentous, but it would have been fun at the very least, because let's face it, some of The Rock's movies as of recent, minus Black Adam, but as of recently haven't always been bad. I don't mind most of the movies that I have seen from him. He's had some misses, but good selection of hits that I have found myself enjoying. And plus, this is coming from the director of the Jumanji films that The Rock has, of course, starred in the previous two films, and I find those movies fun. They're nothing amazing, but they're still fun enough. But that's about it, if you ask me, because as much as that premise sounds cool on paper and in concept, this has to be one of the most poorly corporate films I have seen in recent years, and that's saying something because I saw Disney's Pinocchio on Disney Plus. Alright, I have seen corporate meddling with films that they should not be touching and letting the directors do their thing. So here are the negatives with this movie. The performances are all flat. Excluding both Evans and Simmons, you can at least give credit. Those two are at least entertaining. Although J.K. Simmons is hardly in the movie, he's only in like 10 minutes at the beginning, and then he is completely taken out of this movie and put asleep until like the very end. But Evans does his best with the material that he is given, but just unfortunately though, The Rock is just phoning it in. And as for Johnson-Evans relationship, it is pretty much non-existent. There's no chemistry. They just all kind of feel like they're just hanging out just to do a movie together, but their chemistry and their bickering and banter back and forth, there's nothing of that nature. There's no energy, there's no charm and feeling of passion between each other. It just kind of feels like they just did because, well, we just have these two stars, let's put them in a movie together. And I guess they seem like good friends behind the scenes, but I'm just telling you, when I watch this movie, I don't see a lick of chemistry that makes me really loving their banter together. It just kind of feels like they're just there because why not? It's Dwayne The Rock Johnson and Chris Evans. It'll work, right? Well, unfortunately, it just does not. The direction is messy. Director Jake Kasdan puts together a lifeless and not bursting with any style. There is no style to this movie other than just feeling like a streaming film. This feels like a studio film with a director's name attached to it, if you ask me. It really does. I don't understand how this could be put together by the man who brought the last two Jumanji movies. And as much as people could say that those movies are bad, at least there's at least style. Those movies look like they could be in the theater. This movie, I feel no style. I don't feel any sort of commitment to this project. It all just kind of feels like Amazon came in, took over this entire movie, and Jake Kasdan was there, but by the fact of the nature of they just assigned him as director, but they pretty much gave him all their notes and told him you need to do all of these or you're fired, and so that he did them. But at the same time, it felt like more like corporate was watching all of this and telling him what to do. And so yeah, it just feels like his talent is just kind of wasted with this film. The visuals are embarrassing, from the creatures to the green screen backgrounds. It's baffling that these visuals are in the final cut. It's honestly pathetic to me that we are living in an age where visual effects can be better. They could still be amazing. They could still be fantastic. We just saw that this year with something like Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. That movie has jaw-dropping, amazing visual effects, especially when you consider mocap. Here, it's laughable to think that they thought that this all looked good, that this was top tier visual effects. And I bet you those poor visual effects are as tried, but boy oh boy, were they rushed and told to just quickly put something together, because man, this movie looks like crap and totally looks like something that you would come across on a streaming service. I'm not joking. I have to emphasize that because that's what it feels like with this movie. It feels like it was made for streaming services and put in theaters. The action is dull. Anytime an action scene plays out, it's not exciting and comes off as just being boring all around. Wasted. The feeling of excitement of a Christmas action comedy. There's none of that. There's nothing exciting. I don't get myself amped up when these action scenes happen. They just kind of feel like they just happen and they just come and go. That's about it. There's nothing about the action sequences that got me really invested and really excited for what's happening or what the characters are doing. It just all kind of feels like random mumbo-jumbo crap that is just blended together to make something that can be cohesive enough, or at the very least, passable. And people, I am not looking for anything amazing with regards to action, but my god, you gotta give me something that's at least entertaining, because this is not cutting it. In 2024, I expect a little bit better from especially somebody like The Rock. The writing is terrible. Writer Chris Morgan pens a script that feels generic and bland as the 7 Fast and Furious films that he has written. Just like the series, the writing continues to get worse as it goes along. And as much as I like the 7 Fast and Furious films, I'm not going to deny the writing in those movies aren't great. All right, they're not. Let's be honest. They just fit well with what Fast and Furious is. But with this movie, with the talent you got, it's kind of inexcusable to think that writing is passable in this. And it just keeps on getting worse as the film goes along, especially the humor. The humor is just not funny in this movie. The story is wasted. Following The Rock trying to save Santa Claus with Chris Evans made stale and unfunny time. Not even the 2 stars couldn't save this one. You have The Rock and Chris Evans. They couldn't save this movie. I praise Chris Evans a little bit more because I have enjoyed Chris Evans a lot. The Rock, on the other hand, is now kind of starting to feel like he's doing the same old shtick and he's just kind of bored. He has to look stoic. He always has to look like he's the tough one of everybody because why not? Even though I do think that at this point with The Rock, he needs to shake up his image a little bit more. He needs to do something a little bit much with regards to what he does with films and what he puts forth in terms of his energy, because with this he's just cruising on by. He's just kind of feeling like if I just go by the same old thing that I've been used to for 20 years, I can ease through this. And people are starting to catch on, right? I'm starting to catch on. I'm not a fool anymore. I'm not a young kid. I'm a full-grown adult, and I'm now starting to notice that it's kind of getting old, man. Production is lackluster for a budget of $250 million. People, I said that, $250 million. It all feels wasted, and it is unnecessary to have that huge amount of money. How in the world did Amazon dump that amount of money into this film? It's baffling. It's crazy because none of that is on the screen. It all just kind of feels like it was all hobbled together with CGI. That's it. How did this movie rack up $250 million? I'll never know. And also, the behind-the-scenes issues that involve The Rock seems unpleasant. Like I mentioned about the whole him showing up to set 8 hours. If I was a director and I saw that, and even if it may get me fired, I would immediately say, no, get your ass down here. You're wasting everyone's time. People need to get on with their lives. And the whole pissing in a bottle thing, man, really? Come on. Come on. Pacing and runtime is bloated. Every scene feels drawn out and hasty. With a runtime of 2 hours and 3 minutes, why was this 2 hours? Seriously, why was this 2 hours of a film that has nothing to present itself other than just being boring? Because that's what it feels like. It just is laughable to me that Amazon really put a lot of faith into this movie, and for this movie to be lengthed out to being 2 hours is crazy. The cinematography feels stiff. Cinematographer Dan Mindel shoots a movie that looks and feels more like it was made for Amazon Prime than the theaters, which it is. I understand that's a repeat, but come on. Even the action sequences feels restricted and poorly done. How it's all shot, how it's all framed, there's nothing exciting. There's nothing that gets me engaged. It all just kind of feels like it all looks like a video game, but not an exciting one, but a boring one, a dull one that feels like it's trying to stay relevant in some way. And the way Dan Mendel shoots this movie, I feel like he was restricted with what he possibly could have done and what he could have brought. And it just all feels like it is all stale. For The Rock to make and release this movie, it's lazy if you ask me. After this, The Rock really needs to slow down, take time off, and actually take on more dramatic and more mature roles, which he will be doing for the Smashing Machine, which will be an A24 film directed by one of the Safdie brothers, with him starring as well as Emily Blunt. So hopefully this could change things around. But until then, this is just a low point, if you ask me, for Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. This really is. I don't want to say it, but I'm now starting to understand why people aren't huge fans of The Rock with regards to his movies. I really am. And I don't want to, but I gotta be honest with myself. So I am giving Red One a 1 out of 10. This is just embarrassing to me to think that both The Rock and Amazon thought that they can get away with it and think that this was definitely worth the time and effort for people to go out and see. If you ask me, it's not. It's baffling. It's kind of sad if you think about it, because for as much as The Rock brings in entertainment, for him to think that this was worth the time and effort for people to go out and see, yeah, I don't know what that says about him. I really don't. I don't want to say anything nasty or rude, but I gotta be honest, especially since I have a mother who's a fan of The Rock. I truly don't want to say anything bad, but I'm sorry. That's just how I feel. Now I'll be doing my review for Gladiator and Gladiator 2. So yes, look forward to those reviews and other movie TV show reviews coming soon.